Yo guys, what's up and welcome back to the Marvelous Chats Podcast. This is episode 58. This week on the cast we have Hoffman and Zaberwolf. We're going to be talking about episode 5 of Moon Knight. We're going to get so hyped up for Doctor Strange, which is on next Thursday, and all the nerdy news in between. So without further ado, I'm going to bring the guys in, give them a warm welcome. Yo guys, what's up?
Hey, what's going on?
How are we?
We're good.
How was the week, guys?
Fun week. I went and I got to see Elton John on Wednesday.
No way.
The Lord
Wow.
Elton John himself.
That's great.
He had a concert here in Orlando. It's like part of his like farewell tour, you know.
Cool.
Lady got me some good tickets and got to see the Lord. Like, it was an amazing concert, man. He's like 75 and still has an incredible voice. It's mind blowing.
Wow.
He's still standing.
He's still standing. That bitch.
That's amazing, dude. That's amazing. What about you, Alex?
Just been doing a lot of work, a lot of project work. I haven't really been around on the scene, but happy to be here every Sunday.
Hell yeah, dude. I think we close off the week in a big way here with the cast, so it's great. It's great to be here. So yeah, we're gonna talk about Moon Knight episode 5. Let's just kick straight into it. Guys, what did you think of episode 5?
Oh my God, bro. This show's like everything Loki wanted to be. Like, this had almost barely any action in it, right? But it was the best character work I think that we've ever seen inside of the MCU. I feel so connected to Mark Spector and Moon Knight and Stephen Grant and all. Like, I feel so connected to their characters and who they are and their challenges. Getting deep into the DID thing with Mark Spector. Like, it was an amazing, amazing episode. I've watched it twice. I can't believe how good it was, man. It's my favorite MCU Disney Plus show episode ever.
Yeah.
I'd wholeheartedly agree because it was just one of the most breathtaking moments that you ever see, especially when you go out and you see like the boat and you see like all the sand that's going across. They had some amazing shots going on throughout the entire episode. Like, you were amazed, you were speculating, like you had wonders, and like the way that they introduced Steven and the way they introduced Mark's DID is a completely different take from the comics, but it seems to work better in terms of modern times, because in the past times, like, it would be a little more gruesome, and I know that Disney doesn't want to go too gruesome with that DID.
Yeah, for sure. I loved it, dude. Like, I kind of like a few of the things like people kind of speculating on what would happen actually came true. I know if you listen to the last episode of the cast, like we spoke about the boat and, you know, the going between worlds and stuff like that, and all that happened, and I was just like, this is just so good. It was just amazing storytelling. Absolutely loved it. Loved the flashbacks. Loved you know, how we see Steven getting created and so on. And because like we're kind of brought through the whole show thinking that Steven is the primary personality, and then we find out obviously that it's Mark, which I think, you know, if you've read any of the comic books, I think we did speak about this on a previous cast as well. It was like, why is it Steven? You know, it's always Mark. You know, so I think the way that they actually told that and kind of flipped that, I think, was really well done, especially for people who may not be big fans of or have read any comic books. I'd say that was a bit of a twist for them. So I you know, I'd nearly love to have not read a comic book and not known anything, just to go in completely blind to it and be proper shocked by it. But yeah, absolutely loved it. Like, it was just so good. I loved it. Kind of nearly gave me Matrix vibes, you know, where they're going through all the doors and they're going into different places and stuff like that. Yeah. Like, I was just like, this is just so cool. Like, you know, it was so cool. Again, and I think every week, you know, I'm starting to notice that like the Marvel kind of community of fans are just, it's becoming divided like Star Wars, I think, nearly in a way, because, you know, again, I see people kind of giving out about the episode and saying like, oh, there's not enough action and this and that. Like, I'm just like, this is gripping TV, gripping storytelling, and people just aren't happy. Like, I just think these people, you're never going to satisfy them, you know, never.
I completely agree, because like there's two camps you can kind of be in, where like you can either think it's a bad show or not. Like, if you don't like it because there's not enough action for you, I don't think that's a great opinion to say it's a bad show. Like, you can't be like, oh, it's a bad show, there's not enough action. Like, that is not valid at all. Now it's all right to be, I don't like this show because there's not enough action. It's not for me. I want a more actiony show. Got that. But for people to call this thing bad just because there's not like fighting every second, they're crazy, man. Like I cannot wait to go back and watch this entire show because they're still dealing with the third personality, right? But they're not really revealing it to us. I think one of the coolest things from this episode is the third personality is definitely having a conversation with Ethan Hawke's character.
Oh yeah,
when he's a psychiatrist, and they're not even like really cluing you in too much aside from like tape on the nose and stuff. Like there's little things like that this is I would say this is like what Loki wanted to be is because they hired a real writer. Like this guy who wrote this show, he wrote Memento, and he knows how to set up a scene and like a whole story where you don't know what's going on. And for people to call it bad, like because they're not fighting, like they are out of their mind.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I wholeheartedly, I agree because it's just one of those moments where, when it comes to comics, most people think that in comics that they're constantly fighting or they're constantly, causing a ruckus. They're not. When we read the 2021 Moon Knight comic, a lot of it was conversation. A lot of it was like introspective. A lot of it had to do with like what Moon Knight is, who he is, why he's doing what he's doing, and who the hell are these other characters that are associated with him. And this is it that we're seeing that on Disney Plus. Like we're seeing Steven, we're seeing Mark. Like we're not just seeing Moon Knight. And I know that everybody wants to see like all the fighting and everything, but you have to build the character first. You have to give people a reason to love him.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely noticed Oscar Isaac trying to pull off a kind of like maybe like a kind of New York kind of accent, and I was like, that's Jake. You just knew straight away because I was like, that's not, obviously straight away you could tell it's not an English accent, and then it's like it doesn't sound like Mark Spector either. So I'm like, we're talking to Jake right now. What do you I've seen a lot of people like saying that the runtime of the last episode is going to be like 42 minutes, which is like the shortest episode of the season. How do you feel about that? Do you think they have enough time to kind of wrap this up?
I do. Like, I think they did a lot of the groundwork, what they need to do to wrap this whole thing up in this episode. Like, we wrote off Steven. Unfortunately, rest in peace, Steven. All they got to do is Layla has got to somehow get Khonshu back. Khonshu has to resurrect Mark Spector. I think we're going to be dealing with Mark Spector leaving this like world or this balance they found. Like he's in the fields of Re. He finally found this peace and calm that he's like loving. And he's going to have to give all that up to go save the world or whatever, or to save Layla. So they just got to do that. And then he's got to fight Arthur her or whatever. But like that's not really going to be too crazy of a fight because it's not like we've seen Ethan Hawke like fighting. It's not going to be this outlandish fight scene. It's just going to be pretty brief and maybe some like, mystical jackals or something like that again. But I just don't think they got a lot to do. And I think that the last episode is going to be a ton of action. And that's why it's going to be so short. Is because they got left is action. Like they've done all the character work here. They just got to do Khonshu, bring Mark Spector back, deal with Jake, who we're thinking is the third personality. And they probably won't close the door on that. They'll probably be, settings up for the next season or wherever the future Moon Knight is.
So do you think by the end of the show, Mark will be back? He'll be back in the suit and so on, and he'll have Jake as a second personality, and that'll be it. Steven's gone forever.
Yeah. I think he's going to actually like figure out who his third personality is, and it's going to freak him out.
I think Steven has to come back. It's one of those things where we've already set up like a rapport with him, and that we've established like a good connection, and that Mark seems to need Steven at this point now, especially because Steven can be very helpful in terms of like deciphering things. Excuse me. Because Steven is kind of like the brains in terms of like everything that's going on. Like he was able to help Layla decipher the hieroglyphics and to basically solve the mystery within the pyramid. And so to lose that means that he's losing a part of himself that's very intelligent. And so Mark is like kind of like a bit of the brawn, but more so like tactical. And so he knows how to get out of trouble. And then if we do get introduced to Jake Lockley, that's going to be our big tough guy. That's going to be the dude that's going to handle everything that Mark and Steven just won't.
Yeah. I saw a very good point that Layla doesn't know who Steven is because Mark didn't need Steven when he was around her. She was his safety net sort of thing. I thought that was a really cool idea. Like, there was a really kind of a sweet thing to kind of show how good their relationship was and how important the relationship was to Mark that she never even met Steven. You know, I thought that
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's very clever. Like, it's very good. And
Yeah, this episode is awesome, bro. I can't wait for this thing to wrap up. Like it's fucking beautiful. Like
yeah.
this is the best thing Disney Plus has ever figured out how to do.
So what's your hopes for next then, I suppose I'd like to ask, just like, with the show ending, we've only got like, say, 45 minutes left. Where do you see it going from here? Like, do you see him showing up in like Blade or a Punisher show or something like that? Like, does he come in just for a team up? Do we go straight into season 2? Does he get a movie? Like, what happens next? I don't know.
I would say we're gonna see him in some kind of Blade oriented or Black Knight oriented thing. I don't want this to be the last we see the Moon Knight. For the final episode, I definitely want to see him more in his Moon Knight costume. I thought the scene of Khonshu when he was like becoming the new Moon Knight for the first time is one of the baddest scenes we've ever had in the MCU, where he's like, "Rise, my like warrior vengeance, my Moon Knight." Like that look on his face was amazing, man. That lighting was amazing. So I want to see more of him.
He had the arms out as well, and he was just
yes.
like, oh, it was amazing. Yeah, I know.
Everything.
It was so good. So good.
Want to see more of the Moon Knight costume, more of him like really getting down with what Moon Knight is. And then going forward, I think we'll probably see him in like a Black Knight type of thing. Because I got a suspicion they're going to put out Black Knight before they put out anything with Blade.
For me, I would say that I think it's going to lead towards Midnight Suns, or I would say like the Midnight Mission, where he sets up his like consultation office, and then Steven takes over for most of the time as Mr. Knight. And then somebody walks through the door and he's like, I need you for a mission. And it's like, it's Wong or Blade. And they're like, hey, we need you to join a group to deal with the supernatural.
Yeah.
And that's how you start up the Midnight Suns.
It really feels like what you're saying. It feels like it's too early for that now. I think we need more content before we get there. Like, I'd be surprised now with the way the show's going. I'd be very surprised if like fucking Banner shows up or Wong or something like, and it's like, hey, Moon Knight, we need you. Like, that would kind of like a little too quick. I think we need something in the middle. So yeah, like I think Midnight Suns would be cool. I think that's so far away though. I'd like to see something with him like this time next year, like February next year. I'd like him to either have another season or him appearing in Daredevil or something like, I know Daredevil is going to start shooting towards the end of this year, so maybe it might be out around this time next year. It'd be cool to have him show up there maybe. I think, I don't want to see a big like team up movie happen straight away, because I think that's kind of nearly going down the same route that Justice League did, and they just jumped into the team up too quick. Whereas I'd like to see him kind of dropped around the MCU a little bit more before he gets invited to a team or whatever, or creates his own.
Yeah, the only thing about that though is I think Marvel really wants to keep doing the same kind of formula. And I know that they haven't been doing it lately, but they're kind of like setting up a bunch of characters. And if they decide that they want to start doing a team up, then they have plenty of characters now.
Yeah.
And so it could be possible, but I could see how when you say that it seems a little too early, I can agree with that. But I would love to see it regardless. I would love,
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
But I just think though that if you bring together like a Midnight Suns team, it's like we haven't seen Frank Castle in the MCU yet. We haven't seen Ghost Rider. We haven't seen Blade. All these key members of that team. We haven't seen them, and I don't want to see them for the first time as this team. I think we need to be like, each of these characters needs either a movie or a TV show like what Moon Knight has gotten, and then you bring them all together. That's why I'm kind of thinking like, I think the Midnight Suns is probably 2 years off, like,
Yeah. I don't even think Marvel really knows 100%. Like, I don't know if we're going to talk about it later, but like Kevin Feige is having that retreat to plan out like the next 10 years of the MCU or whatever, right? So like, who knows?
It's happened. It's over. Apparently,
you had that retreat?
The retreat happened, this week. It was one of the points I was going to bring up. But yeah, they have plans now for the MCU up till 2032.
There we go. So maybe now they know where the Midnight Suns is, because I had the impression that they had a lot of this planned out already. Apparently not. So who knows when the Moon Knight is going to reappear, because apparently they just figured it out yesterday.
Well, like, it's like, if you think about it, like, they have like 30 projects on the go at the moment, and they're having a retreat and planning more. It's like, how many projects are they going to have planned for the next 10 years? Like, it's crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy to think about how much stuff is coming.
It really is. And it seems like more so that they had a lot of projects just out there just floating
Yeah.
and not really like knowing what they're going to be or how they connect. And they needed to have something to like kind of draw the web on how everything connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it seems nice though that they have a ton of stuff. Even if they haven't touched it yet, they know it's there. They know that they have something planned for it eventually. They can take it whenever they want, and some of them might even be emergency buttons,
yeah.
like in case of bad movie, throw this
Yeah.
Yeah,
out.
yeah. Well, like, you know, I know it's not really Marvel's problem, but like, you know, the Morbius movie was terrible, so it's like, you know, do they do a Spider-Man movie soon to kind of try and fix things like with that kind of side of the cinematic universe? Because, you know, I know it's not part of like the 616, but with the decisions that they've made, everything that Sony's making is MCU now. Like, you know, it is the cinematic universe. You know, they've connected
Yeah.
it all now. So when there is a flop like Morbius, it affects everything else. You know, for sure. So going into the last episode of Moon Knight, just to kind of close off the Moon Knight part of the conversation, you're telling me, you know, it's kind of your favorite show so far. Like this is top of Disney Plus for you right now.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you rate the show? I know it's kind of hard to rate it without seeing the finale, but you're rating the show pretty high right now, right?
Yeah, this is like a straight up 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. I don't know how you get TV that's like too much better. You know, the only thing that could probably make it better is them doing more episodes
Yeah.
that are like at this level of character introspection, you know, really getting down deep into like who they are, why they're doing these things. That would make it like a 10 out of 10, like for sure.
Yeah.
But, you know, if they want to if they feel like they only have a story for 6 episodes, then like perfect. It's amazing because I don't think they've missed. I don't think they've dropped the ball at all in this show. It's like 9.5, 10 out of 10 for me. This is what the Disney Plus universe should be for the MCU every time.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I think that I would give it maybe about a 9 as well. None of the characters that we've ever encountered were terrible. Like I didn't feel anybody was lacking or overacting. I was kind of scared the Toweret would possibly be like a very bumbling character. Like they just wanted to introduce someone that was just not interesting at all. And she was very interesting. She
Mm-hmm.
like she hasn't done like the work a lot, so that kind of gave a little bit of the comedy, but the rest of it was very professional. She's like, well, if you don't learn to balance yourself out, like you fall down. You're gonna be in the sand, and you're gonna be lost forever. And not once did I ever feel like she was overdoing it.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think for me, for it to be a perfect show, I think what you've said, Hoffman, is where I'm at with it. Like, I think it needs to be longer. The runtime of it seems to be too short, and this is all Disney Plus series, like all of them. Like, I've just finished watching season 1 of The Punisher, and it's like 13 1-hour long episodes, and it's just epic. Like, when there's scenes that it's going slow, and Castle is reflecting on time with his family, and he's you see all the tortures that he's going through and all. I'm like, this is just epic. It's amazing. We all need to see it. And like, could you just imagine this show if they had this cast, in the MCU, everything, but it was like 6 1-hour episodes, or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, whatever, and we got to properly go into like an episode just about Steven, an episode just about Mark, an episode about Jake, an episode about Moon Knight, Mr. Knight, and like you go on tell like proper 1-hour stories. I think this show would be perfection. I think it'd be on the level of Daredevil, it'd be on the level of Punisher, it'd be perfect. I think I always feel every week that it's like when these shows end, I'm like, oh, I can't believe it's over. I wish it was longer, And I find that when you're watching something like The Punisher, each episode feels like it has a proper structure. Like, it starts off, you're going through the intro, you're getting into the main storyline, and then it kind of calms down into a cliffhanger or whatever, or, it starts wrapping up a story, and then like where they're going next. Whereas these episodes, I feel they just kind of abruptly end, and you're kind of just like, oh, for God's sake. Obviously, like, it's a cliffhanger, you want to see what happens next, but you just feel like there should be so much more. And I think that's the only thing I can kind of fault with the show. Other than that, I think it's perfect. Like, it's the perfect origin story for a character in the MCU. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the one of the reasons they're run into trouble, it's like if you look at Daredevil, it wasn't just a Daredevil show. Like they always brought in like some other superhero type of character with like powers and stuff to really elevate the show and give them like more story to tell.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest problems with Punisher 2 is, or Punisher season 2, is that it kind of felt like it was such a small story because they really just did at Frank. And that was kind of a problem with a couple of the Netflix shows, is like they got narrower and narrower in scope of who they had in there. I would love Disney Plus to tackle a huge project, almost like Game of Thrones-esque, where, we're dealing with like 5 or 6 different heroes, all in their own little storylines. And then we start to see how they cross over and impact each other at certain points. And then maybe like have a big meetup at the end or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think they should get away from having these kind of like one hero shows and just kind of having multiple heroes in these shows. And then, take the episode to go explore that one character and what they got going on versus all of them together.
Imagine
it's very reminiscent.
Go on, sorry.
It's very reminiscent. Like what you're saying is very reminiscent of the animated Spider-Man show. Like there were quite a bit of episodes where it was just Spider-Man, and it was fun. But I love the episodes where they brought in Morbius, where they brought in Punisher, where they like had Venom and Carnage.
Kraven,
and
Blade, everybody, they were all in it.
Yeah. You follow them all the way till the end of the episode, and it was fun.
It's a lot harder to do that in live action, but I think you can do it on a smaller scale. Like if this show was 10 episodes and around episode 6, Kit Harington shows up as Black Knight, like I think, boom, they get back to London and Kit Harington's heard about Moon Knight and he goes, I'm gonna go find this guy, and meets up with him, and it's like, let's start something. And then you've got like the Avengers Initiative sort of thing. It's like it's starting up, and then then you bring Blade in or whatever, and you do a season 2 where Black Knight gets his own show then, and Oscar Isaac shows up for that show, and then someone else gets introduced, and we're slowly kind of bringing together the Midnight Suns. Should Midnight Suns be a movie or a show? Movie.
Yeah. Like as good as this show is, the part it does lack in is kind of like CGI, right? And action scenes and stuff. And you need movie level budget for that. Like you need a couple $100 million to really pull off those levels of action in 3D that we know from the MCU, and that's why we love it.
Yeah, I think if they had like 5 or 6 shows like this show on the level of this show, and then ended that kind of story arc with a big fucking movie, I think it would be just so good. You have the first like 6 seasons of Game of Thrones leading into like an epic movie at the end or something. Would have been just amazing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's the win.
Imagine too if like they do the Midnight Suns movie and it's like Punisher and Ghost Rider in the same room, and there was this huge situation that happened. They had a downfall, so now they're in conflict, and then you see Ghost Rider just pick up like Punisher and like try to do the penance stare, and it turns out like Punisher's not getting killed by it.
Yeah.
He's like, I have no remorse.
They have to do that. I think if they bring these characters together, they're going to do that. Like it's a very obvious one. I think I'd be shocked if that didn't happen.
And even if it's just a like made for Disney Plus movie, I think it still works, right? But instead of having $10 million per episode, just take that $60 million and put it into like a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
And like spend your budget there.
Well, I think like if they put a Midnight Suns project out there after a couple of successful seasons of bringing together like Punisher and rumors are Daredevil's going to be involved in the Midnight Suns for the MCU and so on. So like you've already got this show winner, done. You've already got like Daredevil is already well established. You wouldn't even need to do a show. He could just show up there. That'd be fine. Same with the Punisher. He's had 2 seasons. We all know who Frank Castle is. We all know who John Bernthal is. Like it wouldn't be, it wouldn't be a miss. Like I think you need to do something like a solo project with Black Knight or something, and then you need to do one with maybe a recast of Ghost Rider. I think the Ghost Rider story needs to be started again with a different actor and brought into the MCU. But I think the rest of the shows you could nearly just go for it. Yeah, it's exciting times, bro. I think I'm sure we'll be listening back on this in 6 or 8 months' time, and I think a lot of what we're saying right now will come true. I agree. I think we're very much in the know when it comes to this stuff, like, and how Marvel are working things.
We were at the Feige getaway. We just don't reveal it. We're in the room, baby.
Yeah. We were around that campfire. Obviously, this episode is not live. It's pre-recorded, but we're recording it on the 1st of May. We'll all be seeing the movie on the 5th of May. So, do you want to get a little hyped up about Doctor Strange 2?
Dude, I am fucking so pumped for Doctor Strange 2. Everything they're putting out, all these new little like TV spots and stuff, I've seen them. I love them. Woo! You know, seeing Captain Carter and her shield and her little jetpack. Dude, seeing like Wanda there, seeing the Professor X, like, you know, the
yellow chair.
The yellow wheelchair, dude. I'm so hyped. I'm so hyped for this movie.
Yeah, I honestly, I can't wait. I rewatched the first movie last night just to have it fresh in my mind, and it was just it's so good every time I watch that film. And I've fallen in love with it more and more the more I see it. I don't know if you guys have seen any of the Legends series on Disney Plus. They just put up 3 new episodes today. We got a Strange episode, an episode about Wong, and an episode about Wanda. It's about 20 minutes of viewing. Highly recommend watching it because it will get you pumped. Like, those Legends episodes are some of the best like made recaps I've ever seen. Even though I watched the movie last night, I'm rewatching these recaps of these characters, and I was like, yes, like, it was just so good. The way they brought like Doctor Strange into Infinity War and Endgame and stuff like that, and they have this epic music playing in the background. It's so good. Get on Disney Plus and watch those Legends episodes. Even go back and watch all the old ones if you haven't. There's like 17 episodes of it now, and they're just all so good. Yeah, so fucking good, bro. But yeah, like, Jesus, those trailers were just wild. I can't believe they released them, to be honest.
Well, I actually kept myself in the dark about it, and so when you guys mentioned it just now, I'm like, what? No, it's fine. It's totally fine. Like, we were already speculating that, you know, Captain Carter was going to be there.
Yeah.
And
these were big news this week, though. You know, like, I think everyone has kind of seen them. I thought you would have seen them, or at least seen pictures, because like anytime I open up my newsfeed on Twitter or anything like that, it's one of these pictures. And they confirmed as well it's Rambo as the Captain Marvel variant. So it's
like a variant.
It's a variant. It's Maria Rambo. The mother Rambo is
okay.
It's the mother, not the daughter, obviously. She's a variant of Captain Marvel, and she's going to be on the Illuminati. So it's dude, epic.
That's like literally a what if, because then you think about it, you know, and like Rambo went into space instead of you know,
exactly
Carol.
Exactly. And I really think that this could like backfire on them, because I think everyone is going to love this version of Captain Marvel, and it's just going to make people hate Brie Larson even more.
Why? Why do people hate Brie Larson?
I have no idea. She's fantastic.
She's so good. It's been 6 years since we got in a Doctor Strange movie. Like, it's crazy how important of a character he is. He's been in Endgame and Infinity Wars, but he's such an important character, and his movie was so good. I can't believe it's taken us 6 years to get another Doctor Strange movie. And I'm pumped. I watched the minute and a half clip of him in New York fighting with America Chavez. Like, that looked incredible. The CGI, maybe a little sketch, but hopefully it gets another little pass before the movie comes out. But yeah, I got 2 tickets. I got tickets on Thursday. I got tickets on Saturday. I'm ready for Doctor Strange.
I'm going to do the same thing. And just to talk about that clip in New York, I saw someone broke down that trailer, and they used the same background actor 4 times in a minute and a half.
I saw that.
They have him running past Strange 4 times. And like,
it's a multiverse, man.
Yeah, it's all I'm going to see when I'm watching the movie. Damn you, Sam Raimi.
That's so funny.
Clean up your production.
Yeah.
Nah, dude, I really can't wait. It's wild. Can I talk about a rumor that's going around at the moment? So,
go for it.
I don't know if you heard the news, but John Watts has walked off Fantastic Four, right? Yep. And so he's left Fantastic Four. Bit of a loss, I'm gonna say, because he's done such a fantastic job at Spider-Man. But the rumor is that John Krasinski is going to step into the director's chair, and if he's in the director's chair, most likely he's going to star as well.
Oh wow! You think that was like his condition for coming on board?
I think that was really holding him back. I think the fact that it wasn't going to be his movie. I think the fact that, it's being directed by somebody else, it's somebody else's vision. John Watts drops off. Now it's floating around that he's in talks of coming on. And I think he'll star in it, because it's fairly well known that, we've all heard the rumors that he's going to be in Multiverse of Madness. Apparently he is one of the members of the Illuminati. So the rumors are saying. So he's suited up for it. He's shot scenes.
Dude.
Whether it makes the final cut or not, I don't know. Feige's changing stuff left and right. Apparently a lot. I've heard a lot of cameos have been cut from the movie because the scoopers leaked them. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think now with this news of John Watts walking off and Krasinski potentially taking over, I think they put that scene in the movie. I think Krasinski shows up early and then boom, gets his own movie. Whew.
What a power move. That's something I didn't expect, man. Of course he's been moving into what was the one movie he just directed that people love?
Quiet Place.
Quiet Place, yeah.
Phenomenal movies, bro. Phenomenal. The two of them are so good. They're some of my favorite, like, kind of horror movies at the moment.
Yeah.
They're so powerful. And he was so good in the first one.
Right. And so it makes a lot of sense, right? That he wants to do that. But I just didn't see them dropping John Watts for Krasinski. But if that's the way they get him to be in the Fantastic Four movie as an actor, Kevin Feige, he's shrewd, man. That he knows what he wants.
Well, I'm curious now. I didn't hear, but I'm curious as to why John Watts has walked off. I don't know why he's left the project. I don't know if it was like a power play. I think maybe, John decided to leave of his own accord, or something just didn't work out creatively, and that's when they kind of stepped in and were like, "Hey, John, how's it going? We've got an opportunity for you if you want to accept." I don't think that they tried to force him out. I wouldn't say it's malicious, because John Watts has made the MCU billions of dollars with that trilogy, that Spider-Man trilogy. So, you know what I mean? If I'm in Disney shoes, like, I'm keeping John Watts on as long as I possibly can, because the guy can fucking make superhero movies. Like, he's done it successfully 3 times in a row. So, if we could do it 3 more, amen. But
2.5.
Yeah, fair enough. But that movie made $1.1 billion in the box office. So
That's true.
From a business point of view, tick. That's done. It's a success. So, yeah, I'll just.
Is it possible that they just moved John Watts, or John Watts? They asked John Watts to move to a different kind of movie.
I'm curious.
Another franchise.
Because, the rumor is that, we're getting another Spider-Man trilogy. Like, Tom Holland has apparently signed on for 5 more movies together. Another trilogy with MCU and 2 Sony movies, apparently, is what we're hearing. So, if they're doing another Spider-Man trilogy, I would presume John Watts is going to come back and direct them as well. I would be shocked if he didn't. So maybe he's just, bitten off more than he could chew. Like, maybe after this retreat, they find out that Fantastic Four is going to turn into its own trilogy, and he's like, shit, I don't know if I could do 6 more MCU movies. Like, that's a lot of work for somebody. So maybe he's been shifted back to Spider-Man. Look, we know you can do this. Please go and take on the next trilogy, and we'll get somebody else in to do Fantastic Four.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
And I know, I don't know if it was on Twitter or Instagram or wherever he posts his social media stuff. He posted a pretty amicable split. He said he loves working with Marvel. He hopes to work again with them in the future. It's not like he is leaving on a bad note publicly. So that is a good indication that he probably will come back for Spider-Man. I personally would like to see someone else take over Spider-Man. Although I think they're like fine movies, I don't really like his director style. He's a little bland in terms of like cinematography, to be honest with you. I'd be excited to see him back because he has done a pretty good job with all of them in terms of how they feel. But yeah, I'm shocked that he's off Fantastic Four, because it feels like we haven't gotten any news, and then like the first news we get is like he's off.
Yeah, I thought that was the first news that you hear about the movie is bad news, and I'm like, ooh, that's not good. But then with these new rumors coming around, I'm like, oh shit, okay, there could be a bigger vision in play here. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm excited. Do you have any news you want to bring up, or should I rattle off a few points here from news for the week?
Rattle off, baby.
Go for it.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see. What have I got here? I'm gonna keep it like Marvel first before we move on to something else. Did you see the news about the Spider-Verse movies? So, do you know when they originally had planned the release of Spider-Verse 2 on Sony, they were going to do part 1 and part 2. Apparently the new they've ended that now, and it's going to be a second movie, and then the third movie is going to be a separate movie called Beyond the Spider-Verse. So that's the title for now, the third movie. So it's not going to be like Spider-Verse 2 Part 1 and Part 2. It's going to be 2 and then 3. And it's Beyond the Spider-Verse.
I wonder what that means.
Bro, like, I think, I don't know if I mentioned this before on the cast, but, you know, the way each time that Miles goes into a different universe, the animation style changes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I wonder, do they get to a point where he comes to like the 616 and it's live action, and we see the live action version of Miles, and maybe that's Beyond the Spider-Verse, it's into the real world, and then that's how we get our Miles in live action. I think that would be so good, bro.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Super fitting too, because you know, as you see all the different iterations, and then you finally get to the live action, it's just like it'll be mind blowing. And then, but you know, it's going to be interesting where they place him then. You know, at what point in Across the Spider-Verse are we going to end it to where, you know, we're going to have him pop into the 616? Is it going to be like way beyond? Is it going to be like in the front of the line of like the timeline, or is it going to be right after, you know, No Way Home?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, you know, I mean, I don't think, I mean, maybe he doesn't even pop into the MCU because this is still Sony, right? So maybe Sony just brings him into like kind of their Spider-Verse shithouse that they're building over there. And he pops up in one of those. I could also see it like being a thing where he like pops into different animated things from Marvel, you know, like if he pops into scenes from like the X-Men 92, whatever it was.
97.
Like it's, you know, yeah, it's like Beyond the Spider-Verse. Like he's just popping into other people's universes that are animated. Like I think that'd be cool too.
Yeah.
And maybe just expanding out beyond the Spider-Man stuff, like bringing in like Avengers stuff, where they have, you know, animated Avengers in that universe, which would be cool because I'd love to see what. Well, no, because that's Sony, so they don't have rights to that shit. So I don't know. I wonder what it's gonna be.
I know. I'm very curious.
I think, well, like when we saw the end of Into the Spider-Verse, you see the Miguel O'Hara, you know, Spider-Man 2099 going into like one of the old animated Spider-Man shows. So it's not out of the picture that he could show up in like an X-Men show or, you know, anything of the sort. You know, for stuff like that though, you probably need permission from Marvel, which is going to cost them quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very curious to see where that goes. You know, that's, you know, I'm not looking forward to a lot of what Sony's putting out there at the moment, but this is definitely one of them. You know, I think we've said this in the past as well. Like the animated universe that they're working on is flawless. So, you know, only good things are going to come out of there. I'd be shocked if it went down. Their live action universe now is a completely different story. Like, I don't know if did you guys hear about this project that they just announced? They're making like and I needed to look up this character because I didn't know who the fuck they were. Yeah, but there's a movie coming out called El Muerto. He's a Spider-Man villain. He was in two issues of Spider-Man in a comic book, like maybe in the 80s or 90s or something, and that was it. He never existed again. And Sony have decided to make a movie about this guy. Like,
bro, like
what are Sony doing?
I saw that and I thought it was a joke.
Yeah, same.
I thought they're like people were like taking the piss out of Morbius with that. Like our glorious Max Luthor told me this the other day when I was live, and I was like, "That's a joke, though, bro." Right? Like I can't believe you fell for their joke. And then I go look it up, and I'm the goose.
Yeah.
Like it's real. This is something they're really doing. Like what the Sony is drunk, bro.
Yeah, they are. They've lost their minds, and I really feel like it's getting to a point where they're kind of like Warner Brothers with DC. It's like every decision that they're making is poor, and it's like it's as if they're out trying to destroy their own work. Like I don't understand it. It's like self-militia. Like it just makes no sense to me. Bro, I don't know. Venom 3's in production as well. It just started production again. I don't care. I'm just saying, you know, it's another news piece from Sony.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm curious. I'll be very curious to watch this third one because, you know, this is the one I'm going to give the most kind of hope for because I hear that Feige's going to be somewhat involved in the making of this film. Whether it's just, you know, here's a few ideas, this is what you do, and then hopefully they just go and do it. But yeah, I don't know. I won't hold my breath. Yeah, you know, it's not going to end well. We all know it. move on to a little bit of DC news. So this Batgirl TV movie or HBO like Max release, they're apparently talking about potentially releasing it in theaters now. So that kind of tells me that maybe it's hitting a bit better than they thought it was going to hit. Like they were probably going to just release it straight to HBO Max and kind of have it as like a straight to kind of DVD release like they did back in the day.
Yeah.
Whereas now they're kind of like, Jesus, this might be good enough that we can actually pop it up in theaters, like, and people will go see it. Like, especially if they market it right, like with Michael Keaton and stuff like that. I think yeah, I'd go see it in the cinema anyway. I like, you know, absolutely, like it's a Bat family movie, like, you know, and I think on the big screen I think it would pop. So
Well, I mean, it's fitting though, considering that Batwoman is no more.
oh yeah, they just canceled that show this week. Oh god, bro, that show. I watched the first episode of that show and I couldn't make it past episode 1. I just like
Come on,
like,
CW shows are good.
I am actually rewatching Arrow season 1 because it's 10 years old this year, and
Okay.
I love it. I love it. I love Arrow. The first 3 seasons of Arrow were amazing. The first 3 seasons of The Flash were amazing. Then it's just like all bets are off. But this show, I was like episode 1. I was like, nope, I'm done. And then
Yeah.
the main actress who played her, it was played by Ruby Rose. Like she had a massive falling out with the CW and Warner Brothers, and like briskly exited the show, and then they recast it, and she went from being a scrawny white girl to like a black girl with like big mad hair. Like it was like they didn't even try and make the character look the same. They just completely changed the character. Like, so I'm like, how that show went for 3 seasons, I'll never know. Honestly, like
I don't know anything about the show, bro. I just
bro,
like.
oh
I have
my
no
I didn't
god.
even know that happened.
I think now I might be wrong. Don't quote me on this, but I think they have in that show a black Joker as well. Like, so the show seemed like it was just completely off the rails, like doing crazy shit. Like, so I don't know. I just don't know how it went. How it went 3 seasons. They're canceling the Legends of Tomorrow show as well. I can see why that would get cancelled. Again, I can't believe it went 7 seasons, but at least that show kind of started kind of interesting and kind of strong. But again, it's just I don't know how these things keep going at the CW.
Yeah. I mean, I think with like the Batgirl movie that they're talking about with HBO or whatever, I think they're looking at the Batman, how well it did in the movie theater, and then when it came to HBO Max, it's still crushed. Like
Oh,
it still
yeah.
had like 750 million views or something like that, like some outrageous number. It's like the most they've ever done.
I think it was shown, it was streamed in 2 million households on
Yeah.
the first like 2 days or something like that.
That's
So
nuts.
you know that's at least like, you know, that's a minimum of 2 million people watching it. Like, could be,
Yeah.
you know, you could have a house where there's 6 people sitting around a TV watching it, you know. So but yeah, 2 million households, that's those are good numbers for streaming. They say it's record breaking for the app, so it's great.
Yeah. So I'm sure they're looking at that and they're like, hey, that's not a bad idea for like how we release these movies.
Yeah. And speaking of that, the Batman 2 got announced this week. Did you see that? And Matt Reeves is coming back to direct again.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Did they name it, or is that just kind of the rumor?
They have not named it. I don't think it's
Okay.
like there have been no titles kind of floating around yet, but it's just said the Batman 2. So I presume they'll
Yeah.
give it a different name.
Pumped. Everyone wants it to be like Mr. Freeze for some reason. Everyone's like on board with it. I don't know why. Everyone's like Mr. Freeze, bro.
Yeah, I think what we've been saying on previous casts I think would be a good fit. Like if they did like Court of Owls or something.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of grounded to the real world a little bit. I don't think it gets too kind of crazy. Like, you know, when you bring Freeze in, it just gets a bit crazy, you know. And
Yeah.
I think the longer you can keep this grounded to the earth, I think the better. You know, I think they're kind of going potentially around the kind of turf wars stuff that's going on in Gotham in the comics because there's a big flood that happens in the comics, and then there's the city breaks into different like kind of factions, and one is taken over by the Joker, and then Riddler has his zone and stuff like that, and then they go to war with each other. And I'm like, you know, they've just kind of teased that the two of these guys are meeting now, you know, and it's like they could easily have them kind of like trying to fight for territory and stuff like that. Like that could easily be a story that they do. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I don't see how it would be a problem though to have Mr. like Victor Freeze in there, because it was an integral part of the story, considering that there's a doctor who had a dying wife and he wanted to save her, and he would do anything, you know, possible to keep her alive. and you could still ground that. It just, you don't want to go too cartoonish with it. You could
Yeah.
still have him have like some sort of condition with his body, that he has to remain in like a suit so that it keeps the iconic look, but still keep it grounded to where like she's kept in stasis or something, and then he's trying to concoct like some sort of cure, and he's like Robin Banks, or like kind of like a little bit of campy stuff. Like you can add a little campiness to it.
I love Freeze's story. I love the character. I love the backstory, and I think he's a really good villain for Batman. But I just think the way this universe is built up in this first movie, and then we have a Penguin show coming in this universe as well. It's like, I think it would be a bit too soon to bring Freeze in. I think you do something like the Court of Owls, like underground society and stuff like that, like in the Talons and all. I think it'd be really cool. I think that's would be a really positive next step. And we kind of know Joker's coming as well. Like Joker's going to be in the next movie in some capacity, but I think Court of Owls would be a sweet move for them to make because we've never seen it before. And I think
Yeah.
When people hear Freeze is coming, they're going to think of Arnold Schwarzenegger and just all this stupid shit. Like, whereas if they get something brand new, there's no expectation. They could just go with the flow and kind of put out something new and something exciting.
Well, I mean, they thought the same thing with the Riddler. When they were thinking, oh my God, the Riddler, what are they going to do with that? And every time I think of Riddler, I'm thinking of Jim Carrey because that's the last time we saw him.
True.
Yeah.
True.
But like I would say with this movie, like one, I think Court of Owls is way more intriguing than anything Mr. Freeze has ever done. And I love the Mr. Freeze stories, but I just think Court of Owls is fascinating.
Yeah.
And it kind of keeps in line with like this idea that Gotham is way older than Batman, and these are problems that like go way, way back. Yeah. And so I think that's why Court of Owls like really fits into this universe. There was rumors of Hush coming, and like the history of the Waynes, and if they can tie that into the Court of Owls, I think that's an absolute win. The Court of Owls is more of a noir take on the Batman universe. Like you can do much more stuff with that. Yeah. So I think Court of Owls fits it way better. Mr. Freeze would be fun to see, but I think Court of Owls, like we've said, is something that hasn't been explored in cinema before, and it'd be awesome.
Do you think League of Shadows exists though?
Yes.
So why couldn't we do that? Like I'm saying, like Court of Owls.
Court of Owls is fun. It's funner.
Yeah,
better.
Better. I'm not saying like do League of Shadows over Court of Owls, but like, do you think at any point we will get to see the League of Shadows? Do you think we'll see Ra's al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul, whichever way you want to say it? Do you think we get to see Talia? Do you think we get to like kind of do a redux of that? And even then, like what if we do like a rehashing of Bane like after Court of Owls? Like I really think Court of Owls should be the next one, but I really would like to see another character that you can keep grounded, like Bane. Bane works well, especially for someone who has actually tired out the Batman to the point where he could break his back.
Yeah, well they've teased Bane already, with the toxin that he takes at the end of the movie. So I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe ended a trilogy with Bane, kind of like they did with the Nolan series. But I'd like to see this go past a trilogy. I'd like to see this be like a proper saga. I'd like to see Selena Kyle come back into it, them have a back and forth, and potentially she's a villain in one of the movies that he has to stop. And as the comic books go, they're very, very much kind of on again, off again. I'd like to see that. And like, yeah, I'd love to see Joker. Obviously, I'd love to see Freeze. I'd like to see like some characters that they haven't done, and I think that's the winner for it is if they just bring out stuff that they haven't done yet in live action. So as cool as a Bane story would be, it's like we've kind of already seen it. And again, with same with the Joker, like obviously the Joker's always there. The Joker's so important to the Batman story, but again, I don't need another full movie about the Joker. If he shows up alongside somebody else, fair enough, but I don't need to see a full story of him. Whereas I think Court of Owls would be good. And then maybe if they finish off a trilogy with a big win or a big lose for Batman, and then maybe he goes in search of the League of Shadows after that. And again, while they're doing all this, he's introducing a couple of Robins, like one or two Robins. Maybe we might get Nightwing, and then we get like maybe Jason Todd and he dies and so on. Like I'd love to see all this in live action. And then you get to the point where he is introduced to Talia, that ends up having a child with him, and then that's how we get Damian Wayne. Like, that'd be sweet. That'd be really cool.
Yeah. And Talia maybe, but I would also keep an eye on like characters who are more like of the femme fatale stuff. because it's obvious how much they want, or Matt Reeves likes to have kind of the classic noir film influence him. And so I would see someone like Poison Ivy showing up, where she's like a real femme fatale, someone who really plays with Batman's, emotions and her sexuality. That's something I think that he really loves in films, for at least the Batman films, and just the way he set up Selena. He could set up Poison Ivy to kind of be in a role like that, and even have Selena come back and interact with Poison Ivy, because they have great stories together. So I'd be on the lookout for Poison Ivy personally.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
agree.
And I think as far as like the other grounded characters that you can use in this type of Batman, you could still throw in Hugo Strange. You can throw in Victor Zsasz. You can throw like you may be able to throw in someone like Mad Hatter because he's kind of a crazy guy. You could do Professor Pig.
They
But
did all of these in the Gotham show. Like the
yeah,
Gotham show, they did all of these, and it was actually really good. It was so good, and I think that they could potentially do this on HBO Max. Like if they do a Penguin show, you could bring in like, or they're talking about doing an Arkham show. So like in an Arkham show, bring in like Hugo Strange and stuff like that. Yeah, like I think all of this comes together into one big story. Like I think they've got a real opportunity to build a Batman universe here, like properly.
I agree. Dude, Matt Reeves has it. Yeah, he has everything at his fingertips.
Yeah, he really does. Absolutely. I heard a Wonder Woman rumor that she's going to cameo in Shazam 2.
okay.
Yeah. They definitely want to bring more of the DC into Shazam, because he doesn't even feel like he's part of the DC universe.
Yeah, I agree. Even though, he name drops Batman, and he the kid has like one of Ben Affleck's like throwing bats and stuff like that, the batarangs.
Yeah.
And obviously they have the Henry Cavill tease at the end of the movie as well. I only actually rewatched that movie pretty recently, and it's good. It's funny. It's good. I think it's good.
It's a great movie.
Yeah,
I love it.
I do as well. I think it's brilliant.
And it'd be a way for them to start redeeming Wonder Woman from her catastrophic 1984 movie, bring her back into something that people actually like really, really love again.
Yeah.
And that'd be good.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. I'm trying to think. Other than that, really, there hasn't really been any other news for the week.
Yeah. Well, just to tack on to that cameo, like it reminds me of when we did Peacemaker.
Yeah.
And I really am hoping to see another Peacemaker season, because
Confirmed already.
it's confirmed.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because that has to be by far one of the best, like modern, DC like superhero slash super villains that has actually shown up and like brought us in and didn't let go.
James Gunn announced that season 2, I think 10 minutes after the first season ended. He went straight to Twitter. Hope you enjoyed it. Boom, season 2 is coming. So yeah, and well deserved. It was some of the best superhero content we've had, especially on TV in the last few years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really.
I loved it. Like James Gunn shows he can do anything, and he produced. I still think Peacemaker is better than Moon Knight. To be honest with you, like it captures everything that a superhero thing should be. Like not only is it deep, it gives you character moments, gives you great action, but it keeps you laughing the entire time. It keeps you like just entertained, like pure entertainment. It's everything comic book related stuff should be.
Yeah, and it's not really awkward at all either. Like it's just this badassery that pops up. Things that you don't expect just hit you from the left and hit you from the right. Like I'm pretty sure we all laughed at that scene where, like they're telling what's his name? Oh God, Peacemaker. They're telling Peacemaker to chill out, and he's like, "Oh, it's fine, I'm chill."
Yeah,
he walks right in, and he just busts the dude in the face.
Yeah. Oh God, that's such a good scene.
The show had me howling from start to finish. It was comedic genius. It was fantastic acting all around from everybody on the show. There was nobody in the show that annoyed me. Usually, like I'll look at someone in a show, and if I don't like them, I'm just like, oh, I don't even want to watch them on screen. I loved every single person in this show. The writing was fantastic. The fact that James Gunn, I think, did he direct like 4 episodes of it? Was it 4? I think he did 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And then like obviously there's all the real world stuff in the background that they got like to work with Marvel and stuff like that in making the show, which was fantastic. Absolute win. Can't wait for season 2.
Now, Hoffman, you said before that the guy who played Vigilante was swapped out because I rewatched it and it kind of made sense.
You could tell, bro. Like he's not like directly in a scene with anybody until like episode 4, and then they have like like he's not just camera swaps. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I gotta rewatch that show. It's definitely on my list. Yeah, 100%. Do you guys have anything else to bring up?
I have nothing. It has been a little bit of a light week.
Yeah, like
We nailed all the important stuff.
we did. And
Yeah.
we quick fired it today, so it was great.
Yeah.
Hey. I have something. So Spider-Man 4 is reportedly expected by Sony with Tom Holland, Zendaya, and director John Watts returning.
Nice.
There we go.
Is that fresh
There
off
we
the
go.
presses? That's brand new news?
That was as of April 30th. Yes.
Okay. That's cool. Like, and that's to be expected. I'm surprised. Well, am I surprised Zendaya's coming back? I don't know. Like, what role does she have going forward? Like, unless.
Well, Peter's gonna have to juggle 2 love interests, right? Like they probably want to bring in Spider-Gwen at some point, or some other females from the Spider-Verse, and then Tom Holland has the thing with Zendaya, and then like he's wrestling between the 2 of them and stuff. I could definitely see that being a thing for him, storyline.
Yeah, I'm delighted, and I think this is just to what we have just been talking about with John Watts. I think maybe he had bitten off more than he could chew, and it's like, oh, we've got another Spider-Man trilogy coming. Maybe I'll just focus on that. So yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
And maybe he didn't know. Maybe like they were up in the air if they're going to do another Spider-Man trilogy. They're waiting to lock down. Contracts with Tom. Yeah, so maybe once he got locked down, they're like, hey, we're going to do another trilogy. He's like, all right, let's swap it out.
Did you see there was an interview, actually, sorry, just before we break up, there was an interview with Sam Raimi, and he was talking about how he just absolutely loves working with Marvel. He said that, Kevin Feige, he went to Kevin Feige when he first came on, and he's like, look, I need like 4 animators, I need like a couple of storyboarders, all this sort of stuff, like, and he's like, I hope this isn't a problem. And Kevin Feige turns to him and just goes, Sam, you're gonna have 10. We're not gonna give you 3. You don't have to negotiate for 3. We're giving you 10. It's like you'll have 10 of this, you'll have 20 of this, blah blah blah. And he just turned to Thing and he goes, wow. He says, I just knew straight away. He's like, Kevin Feige gets it. He knows how these movies need to be made, and he's like, I am ready to come back whenever. So, how cool would it be if we actually got a Spider-Man 4, that movie that he wanted to make? I think that would be just sweet if they did it, or if they like brought him into work on a Tom Holland movie. I think that'd be kind of cool as well if he actually did something in the MCU for Spider-Man. Like maybe he works on Spider-Man 5 and they bring Tobey back or something, and then he gets to do his Spider-Man movie with Tobey when it's in the MCU, and it's kind of like a multiversal story again, or Spider-Versal story.
Yeah.
Just give him Midnight Suns, bro. He's a horror director. He'll be good.
I would love that. That would be fantastic. And I from what Sam has been saying, he's just looking for that next project. Like he's just like, tell me what it is, tell me when it is. I'm there. He's dying to work more with Marvel. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Actually,
can I say?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
No.
I just wanted to say one more thing like beyond this though.
Yeah.
So this was just an update about 9 hours ago. It says Benedict Cumberbatch confirms that Multiverse of Madness Sinister Strain is not Strange Supreme from What If.
Ooh.
He looks a little different, so.
Yeah. Didn't that Strange die at the very end though? In What If?
He's like locked in a box or whatever, right?
Yeah.
He's kind of like maintaining the container that's holding what's his name? Killmonger and oh my god. That's how forgetful that episode was.
Was this the Ultron? Was it like
Ultron?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't know. Like I from what I've heard, we're gonna get like 5 or 6 different versions of Doctor Strange in this movie. So maybe we might see that one as well. Maybe they just are trying to throw us off. But maybe that box gets broken open in live action, and we actually see that version of Strange. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I've heard a lot of people, a lot of the influencers have seen the first 20 minutes of the movie, and they've been saying like that it's been great, and like the movie actually starts off, and I think the first Strange that we see is Defender Strange. We don't actually see our Strange first, so we're gonna start in a different universe. I think Yeah, I think the focus of the film for the first like hour is going to be actually America Chavez and how she gets to the 616 and so on. So yeah, bro, I'm so excited for this movie, bro. Like I think it's just
One more days.
It's going to be absolutely incredible. Next week's episode of the podcast is going to be incredible because we're going to have the end of Moon Knight. So we can kind of do a recap of the entire series, and we're going to be obviously talking about Doctor Strange for, I'd say we'll at least be talking about that movie for an hour, I'd say. So
yeah, definitely.
It'll definitely be a longer podcast next week. So
yeah.
And we might have some familiar faces or new faces on the cast as well. So it's going to be a good one. I'm really looking forward to it. What I wonder, should we do the next one live, or should we do it like this? You like this?
I love this.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. All right, guys. Take it easy. We'll see you in the next one.
Later, everyone.
Later, everybody.
Bye bye.